after OCD self is created, it is not enough for this self to be only focused on the OCD self, but it will try to increase and so solidify itself through comparison. Okay, so after you are focusing and concentrating on who you are not, because the OCD self is the opposite of you. So this is not enough for the OCD self. So now it will try to let you focus on something which is completely opposite of the OCD self. Let us say this is the desired self. And okay, so completely opposite, that means 180 degree. But by doing this, it creates the highest tension, okay, because it is 180 degrees. So the OCD self let you choose a personality or something moving in front of you, your friend or someone in the street or someone in the movie or someone in the TV, which is exactly 180 degrees from the OCD self. Okay, I give you an example. Let us say that you have a harm OCD, okay, and you tend to get all sorts of obsessions and urges, harm urges against your children. Then the OCD self will always try to grab your attention towards specific figures around you in your environment who are very kindful and very nice to their children. And you begin immediately to compare. So you don't compare yourself. No, you compare your OCD self to the, because now when you are triggered, then you enter the OCD world, then you go down to the OCD self, and from there it lets you compare yourself, which is now on the OCD self, lets you compare it with your real self, or because it is the desired self. Okay, compare it with something which is 180 degree to the OCD self. OCD self loves always explosion, high trigger, spikes, punching. Okay, the most it gets the most tension there, because the OCD self is against the desired self. Okay, so a kind action, okay, a kind action of someone to his children will be a trigger to you if you have a harm OCD against your children or your beloved ones. So this beautiful beautiful image of someone being kind to his children will be a trigger to you, and then you will begin to compare. You will say to yourself, I'm not like that person. Look, I am not so kind as he. I am not so kind to my children as he. I am getting all these thoughts and obsessions against my children. Okay, so the same thing, of course, with another subtypes like blasphemous or religious OCD. Then you begin, of course, now you are triggered, so you go down. The moment of trigger, there is a trend to go down. Okay, only if you relax and you begin with the steps, you are conscious, mindful of what is happening, and you have practiced doing the steps. Otherwise, you remember now, before you know the therapy, before you practice the therapy, each moment you get triggered, you go down. Where you go down? To the position of the OCD self. From there, You have no glasses, you have the glasses of the OCD self, the color of OCD self, smell of OCD self, taste OCD self, hear OCD self. You become in the OCD self world. Okay, so you trigger, you go down. When you go down, then from there, as a religious, as a sufferer from religious OCD, you begin to search the environment to find someone which is, for you, the ideal case of worshipping, the ideal case of religious obedience, and you begin immediately to compare. What is funny about this comparison, it is always against you. It is always disadvantageous. OCD self-comparison is always against you, is always disadvantageous. Why? Because the OCD self is like that. It is based on fear. It is based on wrong. It is based on you are bad. You are against your values. You are the opposite, in fact, the opposite of your values. So what do you think? What will OCD self see? It will see and smell and taste and sense only the opposite of you. Okay, and by this the tension will increase, because it is anti-pole, pole positive and negative, like that. It is not like that. Let us say 30 degree or 40 degree or 90 degree. No, it is 180 degree. So the most tension, the most stress it will give you. Why? So that you will focus, because it needs food. OCD self needs food. The more you focus, the more you are merged, the more you are fused with the OCD self, the more you will solidify, and the OCD self will become bigger and stronger. Okay, you can have an for exercise for that. Try to observe when the OCD. So you become mindful. Try to observe. You should become mindful. Try to observe when this voice comes to you to compare. Okay, comparing and discounting the positive. Of course, you're positive. Okay, so OCD self. So you observe this. When you tend to compare, you observe that. You observe this voice in your head when it says to you, "Oh, look to that person, how wonderful he is, and how bad you are." Okay. Try to observe this movement or this sound in your head, and of course you relabel it, and then you reattribute it. You relabel it, you say this is the OCD. You reattribute it, you say this is not me. I am not the one who is comparing or doing the comparison and discounting the positive. No, he is. He is the one who is doing the comparison and discounting the positive. And then you refocus. Okay? As I always in my therapy, do 1, 3. Step 1, step 3. Don't do step 2. If you can. Step 1, so you relabel and immediately you refocus. If this is difficult, then use step 2 to reattribute. Okay, for you. Because, okay, I have explained why it is like that in previous videos. I cannot explain everything in each video. Okay? By simply becoming aware of your negative self-talk, we begin to distance ourselves from the feeling it brings up. As soon as you find yourself going down the path of self-criticism, gently observe and note that. Note what is happening. Okay? Be curious about it and remind yourself, these are thoughts, not facts. If you focus and discuss negative thoughts, they will repeat themselves more and more, and they will become obsessions. Okay, sometimes also you can, some clients some people find that affirmations, writing down as many different positive things you can about yourself. Write as many as you can. Also, we have said something about attributes. You can write these attributes down, and mention them to your brain in 10 seconds. So try to make summary, or after writing these attributes, after writing these attributes or affirmations, try to mention them to your brain in 10 seconds, or even later in 5 seconds, and then in 3 seconds. Try to make a shortcut to all of these. Try to train your brain. How can you make a shortcut of all of these attributes at 2 seconds or 1 second? Okay, because you have written them and you are trained, yes, and you are trying to observe these attributes in the outside. So after collecting the attributes in the coming days, you are trying to observe these attributes. Oh, I am that, I am really that, I am really that kind person. Try to observe that. Okay. Without talking, you only observe that. You become mindful of that. Okay, and then as an exercise, you try to mention them to your brain. So try to remember them first in 10 seconds, then in 5 seconds, then in 2 seconds, then in 1 second. Try to make a shortcut to these. So as a help that this is me. Okay, this is me. Of course, in all of these exercises and collecting of the attributes, and try to memorize or make shortcuts to these attributes, this is not a compulsion. So we don't want to make that as a compulsion. No, it will replace a compulsion. So this is therapy. This is a therapy. It will replace a compulsion until eventually later, but during the time, this tendency will decrease and decrease and decrease, and you become more connected with yourself. You don't have to make these shortcuts or exercises or like that. No, you become acquainted with yourself. You learn yourself. You know yourself. Okay, so this is about comparison. About affirmation and how can you benefit from that. Try always, of course, to be false and be aware of negative comparison. Okay, if I am telling myself 1,000 times per day I am bad, then it will be more likely that I will follow that with OCD self-talk. Okay, related, of course, to your specific OCD subtype. Because when you don't observe negative self-talk, when you don't observe what the OCD self is telling you, then you will consider that as me, as you, as the real self. Okay, you will misidentify the OCD sound, the OCD voice, with your real self voice, with me, with you. Okay, so the real me, with the real I. And if you misidentify that, okay, if you don't know that this is the OCD self, then your identity will mix with these voices and you are lost. Or in fact you are lost. Yes, but in fact no, in fact you have found your real self. You think you have found your real self by OCD self, because if you are merged with the OCD self, then you will think that this is me. This is the real me. And in fact, this is not only not you, but this is exactly the opposite of you. The OCD self is opposite of you. But if you don't observe it, if you are not aware that this is the OCD self is talking now, this is the OCD self voice. If you are not aware of that, then you will mix your identity with your OCD, with the OCD self. You will not only be lost, but you will find your fake self, the OCD self. You think that, oh, this is me. Oh, I found me. Oh, in fact, this is me, you will say. Okay. So try to be aware of this voice, especially of the false comparison and the discounting the positive. Okay. So, because if you are not aware of this voice that is saying to you, you are bad, you are a bad father, you are a bad mother. Look to this guy. How is he kindful to his children? How he is very kindful to the people. You are bad, you are aggressive, you are bad. Of course, after bad and bad and bad, then it will become more believable to you to believe that I am really a murderer. So after bad, it will not let you. After telling you, you are bad, you are aggressive, it will not leave you at that, the OCD self. Then comes the next step. You are a murderer. It will be more likely that you will believe, that you will accept that you are a murderer. You are a bad person. You are a disbeliever. Okay? So try to be aware of this tension field that the OCD self is creating. It is, after it going very down, okay, to let you feel alive, it will watch the desired self. Look to this kind father, kind mother, he is so kind to his children, and look to yourself. Okay? So you are here, and it compare you with something very, very far, 180 degrees. So to create, why? To create the most tension, the most anxiety, the most fire. Okay? Take care of yourself, and bye-bye.